Hi everyone, Kevin McDonald here, and I'm joined this morning by Nick Kurov. Nick is doing some great things in property, and he's been in property now for about 3 to 4 years, but initially struggled to get started. But over the last 12 months, he's gone full-time in property. So I thought it'd be worthwhile bringing him on the podcast and sharing with you his initial stages on his property journey, what he's done to get himself out of his job, and maybe it can help you as well, and how maybe you can get some inspiration from him and what he's doing in his property journey as well. So Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Kev.
Before we get on with this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video. What were you doing pre-property? So before property, what was life like? What were you working at?
So I was working full-time. I had a full-time job. I was working in manufacturing. I didn't know I wanted to do property until I read a book.
When you say manufacturing, what
we're doing contact lenses down where I live now in Southampton.
Right.
Yeah. So I used to do manufacturing, and I didn't know about property up until I read a book, and then I said, okay, maybe I can give it a shot.
Okay, what book did you read?
Have a guess.
You tell me.
Okay, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
Okay, that was actually the first book I ever read.
Really? Yeah. I read it whilst I was actually working in. Before that job, I was doing operation assistant, and then I transitioned to doing the manufacturing job. So I was sat down on the computer. I was working part time because I was doing college.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to earn more money because it's not enough. So I just Googled how to make more money. And then words such as assets, liabilities, cash flow started coming up. So I was like, what is this? So I Googled each one individually, and then the book popped up, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Real Estate / Property. I'm like, I never used to read books before. My dad has a massive shelf of books and all that. But I was like, 21st century, why do we need books, right? So I bought it, I read it, and I'm like, at the time I applied for universities. I got accepted in all of them. I closed the book. I said I'm not going to university. And then that's when I transitioned to the manufacturing job. And I was like, I started reading more about property, about just personal development in general. And then eventually one after the other, watching videos, starting to attend courses and all that. And I'm like, okay, this is the route I want to take.
What year was this when you started looking at books?
So 2018, in middle of 2018, I started looking at books.
What age are you now?
Good question. 24.
24.
Yes.
So around the age of 20.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So.
Yeah, I think too late, but then again.
Yeah. So some people watching this, you may be thinking that's too early. For others, they may be thinking that's too late. But 20 years old starts reading books. I wish that was me when I was 20 years old. I wasn't even considering reading books and getting into property. So you started off 2018. Rich Dad Poor Dad, reading some books. Decided not going to go to university.
Yep.
You're going to start to do property instead.
Was that the right choice? I have no idea, but I'm happy with the one I chose. So.
When you mentioned about doing some courses, what training did you do?
So originally everything was online. It was YouTube because it's free content.
Yeah.
I just typed in property, how to invest in property. Originally I was looking into the USA, but I figured out that I will be investing here, so I need to focus on the UK market. I started going to free like 2-day events, and because I live in Southampton, so I used to travel. Tops was London, which was quite far from me. Now London is next door for me. But yeah, so I just started doing some free events, and then eventually I signed up for a few paid events, which were like 2-3 day courses and stuff. I never done any mentorship programs at the time, and when I narrowed down what I wanted to do, because after the first course they said, easy. I live in Southampton, which the market there is expensive. So invest up north. Properties are cheap, less deposit, and that. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But when I realized you need a deposit to buy property, I'm like, I don't have it.
Yeah.
So that was a bit, thinking how to do it. So I started narrowing down what is the low entry point, like the minimum amount you can invest.
Yeah.
And it was rent to rent. So I decided to do service accommodation. Spoke with a few people after I've already done service accommodation, and they said, why you're doing the more difficult bit? Because rent to HMOs technically is a bit more easier than SA. Who knew that, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to do SA, and I focused like 6 months. It took me to actually get it, the first one up and running, and that was a month before the whole world shut down and COVID hit. But hey, we still have it, so I'm happy with with the choice I made at the time.
So that was the first SA. Then you moved over to rent to HMO.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you said initially you did it through YouTube and stuff.
Yep.
What did you do when you went into HMO? Did you do it just off YouTube as well, or?
No. So at the time, it was COVID, and things weren't going very well at the beginning because I just had the keys, had the first booking coming over, and then like 2 weeks later, everything closed down. And I'm like, how can I, if I give the keys back, I'm just giving up on something that, I learned for. So I decided to fully focus on doing it. And I met a lady that she was doing SA at the time. So she had this small mastermind thingy, which we did it for 3 months. So trying to push during the lockdowns and all that. Yeah. So she gave us some tips on how to go and promote yourself indirectly because all of the travel agencies were closing down. Which helped a lot, and having those seeds at the beginning, eventually in time when everything's now open, everything's running fine, it's much easier to maneuver around.
Yeah.
Because we've been through the worst, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And then that was still the SA side. So you started 2018. By sort of middle of 2020, you've 2 years in.
Yeah.
Got a lot of knowledge from reading books and YouTube and stuff, and you've got your first deal done.
First deal done.
Okay, yes. Then what happened next?
So because SA was performing summertime, not performing wintertime, and I'm like, because I was still full-time working. Yeah. So I needed some cash or something more passively to cover me for if the SA is not performing. And I was like, what else is out there with low entry and all of that? So the other option was HMOs. At the time I was thinking, I haven't done...
For anybody watching this and you're wondering what a HMO is, it's a house in multiple occupation. So a multi-let property where you've got more than one person sharing the same property, where all bills are typically included. In most scenarios, sometimes the tenants would pay the bills, but typically you'd offer them a room, they'd pay all the bills. You'd pay all the bills and they'd rent a room in a shared house with other people who are also renting another room in the same house. So a multiple occupancy property.
Yeah.
Sorry, son.
So yeah, and eventually I was like, SA is not performing, I need something solid. I had some cash saved, so I decided to reinvest in my knowledge. So I just went online and I'm like, okay, how do I increase my rent-to-rent HMO knowledge? Because I knew a little bit about it from the free stuff, but I needed something to, verify my knowledge. That's when I actually Googled, and because I've been in the progressive community for a while now, but I never posted. I was just like following. Yeah. And I was like, okay, what communities am I out there, and who can I put my trust in so that I can learn from? And funny enough, it was you that you had the at the time it was the rent-to-rent.
You came across the crazy Irish guy.
Yes, yeah, but then again it worked out fine. So. But yeah, because everything was online, so I'm like, I need to do something. So I did the rent-to-rent online course. Got lots of value out of it, way more than the free stuff out there for me. So coming back from that, I was like, cool, next thing is HMOs. But that was just exiting, I think it was 2021, exiting like the lockdown era and stuff.
So this was sort of summer 21, I guess.
Summer 21, yeah.
So probably just coming up on 12 months ago.
Pretty much, yeah. Solidly, yeah. So when I was like, okay, I will be focusing on this. And then I've heard that the live events here in Peterborough are actually happening again. So I'm like, I've never been to an event. So I'm like, let's sign up. And the thing is, they called me and they said, okay, these are the dates available. Do you wanna come in? Yeah. Now I'm like, let me check my calendar. I was actually, because my shift at the time was 4 days working, 4 days off. Right. And these 3 days were on my 4 days working. So I'm like, should I call sick? I'm like, I'll call sick. And don't advise it, by the way.
If the boss is working, he didn't call sick. Don't remember those dates.
That was back in the days, yeah. Don't do it again. But yeah, so I decided to come over. I just checked it on the map. Where is it? And they said Peterborough. I'm like, oh, where's Peterborough? Like 3 hours away. So again, it wasn't too bad. So I decided to show up. I found lots of value in the No Money Down event. I didn't go to Masopi. I went to No Money Down and lots of value. And at the time, I was like, okay, I'm here. I already have everything. So I just need excel, just go from there. That's why eventually I signed up for the program,
the mastermind.
The mastermind, which we're still on it, and thanks to it, I've done the last a few more deals straight after from.
So when I made a joke there about if the boss is working, do you still have a boss, or are you now your own boss?
I have the worst boss possible, and that's myself.
Yourself. So you're full-time in property.
Full-time property.
You've got tell us a little bit about Rent to HMO. So what type of deals have you done?
So currently we've done 2 deals.
Right.
2 deals. First one was, well, funny enough, 2 months apart, I would say. Right. One in September, one in November. First one is a 5-bed, 2-bath in Portsmouth. All my HMO deals are in Portsmouth.
Right.
So 5-bed, 2-bath. Took me, and funny enough, the actual deal, I got it from this room here, not this room, but the next door room.
Yeah.
Because on the event you mentioned, say, just speak with outside of your area with some agents. And I'm like, I don't want to go up north like Manchester or whatever. So I live in Southampton. What's the closest by? Next door was Portsmouth. So I just went online, called the agent, and I said, look, do you guys do company lets and stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, we have this available. Do you want to see it? And at the time I was like, I knew my pitch, but I was like, wasn't expecting to go like so smoothly. And I was like, okay, I'll come in tomorrow. So when I went and saw it, I spoke with the agent. Funny enough, the agent was the senior management or whatever. Yeah. He used to do rent himself. So I'm like, sounds good to me. And the first deal we got from him, the second deal again from the same agent. He said, by the way, we have this other property, you want to come and see it? And the second one was a 9-bed, 9-bath.
Right. That's what I often say to people is you don't need lots of landlords. Sometimes you just need one landlord and maybe one agent, and they'll feed you lots of deals. The profits, average, what sort of monthly profit do you get from the 5-bed and the 9-bed?
Yeah, so the 5 beds, it's around $550 a month, of which that's only the first year. The year 2 and 3, because we signed a 3-year term. It's getting more, so it's going to be around like 625 or something like that.
So your costs are in the first year.
That's one thing, but then also in terms of deposit, we managed to negotiate, don't pay deposit and spread it across the first 12 months.
Perfect, yeah.
And then after that, it's still refundable for us.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right, so 5, that's profit after all costs.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the 9-bed?
9-bed, because I'm doing a JV with somebody that he's in the progressive community, but he got recommended to me by a friend of mine that's also in the progressive community, living in London, because he's doing rent himself and he's looking into development. And at the time I wasn't experienced with HMO, so I was like, help me out, does the number stack? He said, yeah, I like this, I don't like that. So when I gave him the 9-bed, he said, this sounds pretty good, are you doing it by yourself? And I'm like, I have the cash to fund it myself, but I don't want to have the risk and liability. So he said, by the way, I might have somebody interested. So he connected me with this other person. And since, I would say, November last year, we've started doing business together, and we have already 2 deals with them.
And how much profit each from that deal then, roughly?
So from the 9-beds, when everything's full, all the bills covered, it comes around 1550.
1,500 profit,
yeah.
750 each?
750-ish.
750 each,
yeah.
Okay, not bad. Joint venture, so obviously you've got your Rent to HMOs, you're getting them coming through. But you mentioned there about joint ventures as well.
Yes.
And you mentioned about the community. How many joint venture partnerships have you got? How many are you working on? And I guess what's involved in them?
Currently we have 1 JV that I'm doing with my guy. And we'll be doing another JV with another lady in the progressive community, again in Southampton, because we're going to be doing a flip project. Right. So we're going to be buying a property, renovating it, and then selling it on.
Okay, on that, your role in that is, I guess for people watching this and thinking about joint ventures, what's your role in the JV for the flip, and what's the JV partner's role?
Well, one of the things is my height. No, I'm joking. The thing is, because both people put something to the table. Myself, I'm more down to doing numbers, like stacking the deal, like finding builders and whatever. The other person is out there doing with finding investors and all of that. So both people bring something that the other person is not great at. If that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that's what's great in terms of forming a good partnership with the other person. Because if you're doing the same deal with yourself, I don't think that's going to work well, because you're going to be in each other's ways. If that makes sense. Yeah.
So quite often the mistake people make is they have 2 like-minded people trying to work together, but you're tripping over each other.
100%.
Yeah. So the lady's bringing the money, I guess, and you're finding the deal and managing the project.
We're both, managing the project. We're both managing the project, but because I have more free time,
Yeah.
so I'll be more free to
Hands-on.
Hands-on, yeah.
Okay, cool. You mentioned the JV on the HMO side. So what's the plan next with that? How many? Where you? I guess over the next 12 months. So in the last 12 months, you got yourself out of your job. You're now full time in property. Yeah. What's the next 12, 18 month plan looking like?
So property wise, my goal was until end of this year to have. Funny enough, I was focusing on actual numbers of properties, not necessarily on the number of cash flow I needed,
right.
Which can be very different. So I wanted to have five SAs and 10 HMOs. The reason for that is because I wanted to have enough to get my parents outside of their job.
Yeah.
I still have 6 months, so am I on track? I'll let you know after 6 months. But after that, because we're going to be doing something that we never done before, doing the flip.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time and energy it's going to take from what I'm doing.
Right.
Managing whatever I have so far, it's not that difficult. And worst case scenario, I'll just increase my team. Like, for example, get a virtual assistant to focus on some of the administration stuff or all
right.
that. But the next 12 months from now on, we would like to do that one flip, actually said and done, and then be looking on to getting the next one. And to property-wise for myself, I will be expanding my HMOs and SAs, I would say evenly.
Right.
So currently we got 2 on 2.
Okay. So for anyone watching this, when Nick mentions the word flip, that means to buy a property, refurbish it, and then sell it on for a profit. So you're basically flipping it back into the market for a profit. What will the profit be on the flip? What's the target profit?
So target profit, worst case scenario, it's around 50K.
50 grand profit.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is really important in a property business. Is quite often people are trying to hold everything, but you need cash as well.
Yes.
And that cash, I guess, will help fund future purchases.
That's going to be recycled back in, right. For future purchases. Yeah.
Good stuff. So you mentioned about finding JV partners in the community. Mm-hmm. How important has the community been to you in terms of not just the mentors and the support in terms of the knowledge, but what about the other people, the network that you've gained?
I never realized how important networking is, because I considered myself an introvert. So up until, because I started like way back, 2018, 2019, so I did it by myself. I was stalking what people were doing online, but I was never getting involved in it.
Right.
But eventually I decided to, after I came into the event in July last year, I was like, I'm already here. Let's just focus fully on this. And getting outside of my comfort zone, the best things happened. So yeah, I mean, I find it massively helpful, the whole networking bit, because you can learn so much with, for example, from a course or like reading a book or whatever. But when you speak with somebody, they can tell you stuff because, for example, they have experience that you would. It's not written,
yeah,
because never spoke about it, because it's on a day-to-day like ground tasks that they deal with, and that's massively helpful.
And it's the bit as well, like people know people. So when you mentioned there where the guy in London knew yes. somebody who might be interested in working with you, you don't get that in a book.
Not at all. Yeah.
The mastermind
yes.
that you did, obviously working with me on No Money Down, how has that helped you in terms of knowledge, connections? What would you say the things that have helped you the most out of that?
Just turning up changed the whole thing, because I knew I wanted to leave my job. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. When I arrived here, I was like, okay, now I know the clear path to do it. And it was just coming along every single month, doing the things I need to be doing, and connecting with the people that were in this community. So that by itself helped me out without me knowing how can I get outside of my job, for example, because I didn't like it. But it propelled me in my, I would say, SA and HMO career, that I didn't know I wanted to do HMOs. I didn't know how I can excel in the SA bit as well. But yeah, it's nuggets that you don't get if you go, for example, and you do like free stuff, if that makes sense. But I knew I was ready for it. So coming along, just helping go up.
Well, one more question really is on this. I've watched you over the last 12 months grow in terms of your property knowledge, but one other thing I think that's really changed is your mindset. How important, obviously property knowledge, But what about mindset, and how do you feel you've changed mindset-wise over the last sort of even 3 to 4 years?
Yeah, it's just speaking with people, because you will never learn something if you're sat down by yourself without speaking with people, because all the knowledge is out there. So in order to acquire it, you need to go and seek it. So that's what I decided to do. And how I grow, well, personal development side of things, it's difficult to say, because I was still reading books back at the time, but the books can help so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You actually experience the whole sharing of experiences of what other people have been doing and all that, and that builds up your own credibility and your own confidence more to be doing more of the stuff that you want to be doing. If that makes sense.
For anyone watching this is thinking they got to know everything before they get their first deal done. What would you say to them?
You need to know. Well, I wanted to know everything.
Yeah.
That's why I positively procrastinated for the first 2 years, reading all the books, doing all the free stuff, and I was like, okay, what's next? And when I got my first essay, lockdown happened. That wasn't written in a book.
Yeah.
You know, nobody was talking about it. So I'm like, what's happening now? And you realize you know so much before you actually go in the room and you're like, wow, what's happening now? So you have to have skin in the game to actually learn through and either persevere or give up. You know, the choice is yours eventually.
So this is going to be really helpful, I think, for a lot of people watching this in terms of their approach, their starting. Many people start in the very same way as you. Quite often it's Pick Up Rich Dad Poor Dad or a book like that, and then maybe spend a year or two deciding if it's for them and then going in and getting it done. For anybody watching this and they're thinking, you know, I've been in property for a while, I've been thinking about property for a while, or maybe, you know, I've been struggling to get going or to find the right way to get going. What sort of advice would you give them? If you give them sort of, put you on the spot, 3 top bits of advice, what would you say to anybody who's listening to this who's looking to get started?
First thing is you need to acknowledge the problem. Why do you want to go into property? You know, do you want to earn more cash? Do you want to get yourself free outside of your workplace? Do you want to have more time for your family? Acknowledge what the problem is, because that's the first step of actually solving it. So once you have that taken out of the way, you need to put yourself in the right environment and / community. So being around the people that are doing what you want to be doing. And there's 2 ways. You either have the money, so you can invest. The third best thing is first best thing is investing in yourself. But if you invested so much and you don't know how to do it, find somebody that can help you go through that process. And just, they say, like, shadow somebody. You know, just copy and paste, because you're not going to reinvent the wheel. It's done once. You know, just copy and paste, pretty much. So it's those 3 things. Get yourself in the right environment, acknowledge what the issue is, why do you actually want to be in property, and find the right people to support you in doing that.
Thanks for coming in and sharing your journey. So guys,
a pleasure.
Nick Kurov, he's based down in Southampton. He's doing some big stuff in property right now. Nick, if people want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
I'm all over on social media, so you can just tag in Nick Kirov in Facebook, Instagram. You'll find me. I'll be there.
So Kirov, K-I-R-O-V.
That's the one.
And Nick,
It's already
N-I-C-K.
here. Yes.
Okay, so, and your company?
It's already here.
Yeah, Kurov Estates Limited. If you're in the Southampton area, in the Portsmouth area, Kurov Estates Limited. If you've got property down there and you want them taken over, you want them guaranteed rent, profit shares, anything like that.
We know somebody.
Reach out to Nick as well. He can help you. He can show you around some of his current projects so you know what he's doing. So guys, remember, if you want to stay connected, if you want to hear more stories like Nick, if you want to see what's happening in property, every single week we've got a YouTube video out sharing different things around property investing that can help you on your property journey. So to not miss out, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. I've been Kevin McDonald. He's been Nick Kurov. You've been amazing. See you next time.